Hello, Candace. Okay, so welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast, a home for the authentic creative. We're matching, Candace. We
You
both have
are.
our like plaid
Oh, unmute, Candace. We can't
asking
hear
you to
you.
unmute. Yay. Okay. So I'm here with my gorgeous co-host Amber Susa, the Embodied Woman. And Candace, have you met Amber before?
I have not. I've seen you on some of the calls and I saw
Yes.
you dancing. I can hardly make the quilt calls. So I actually just watched the replay this morning and saw you dancing. And so I've just like known you through Siri and Kathy's world, but I haven't met you. So hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So Candace is in Canada. Where in Canada are you?
So I'm in the north. So I'm in Grand Prairie, Alberta.
Okay. And that
Yeah.
is above which part of the US?
Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'd fail a test. I'm so bad with
Well, I
geography.
don't know either.
So am I, so am I.
I know Alberta, but I can't. Is it like near Toronto? Is it near Vancouver?
It's Vancouver. I think it's like
Near
above
Vancouver.
Montana.
Got it.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
there's BC and then Alberta. I'm the province beside. So yeah,
Us North Americans really need to get it together here. I mean, come on.
totally.
Come on. All right. So
Don't
I'm gonna
ever ask me a geography question,
Yeah,
Siri,
right?
on the
Okay.
spot.
I know. I'm horrible. I'm horrible. So Candace is the host of an incredible podcast that she had me on, and it was such a beautiful
So good.
experience. It's called, oh yeah, Amber, you listened to it. Thank you for, yeah. So All Things Relatable Podcast. That's what it's called. All Things Relatable. And I think that's so fitting, Candace, because you are so relatable as a person. You're so grounded, you're so authentic, you're so you embodied, like just and I love how, you're so into being outdoors. Like I watch all of your Instagram stuff and it's all like outdoors, like you skiing and being in nature. And it's just very inspiring to me. So because Candace believes that growth and evolution are never complete and that there's always another layer to peel back, she's all about finding gratitude in every single day and enjoying the journey, even when things suck. Candace understands the magic in storytelling, sharing stories from her own life to those of her diverse guest list from around the world. Her mission will always be to enlighten, ignite, and inspire. Her podcast has listeners thinking deeper than the latest TikTok trend or their grocery list to ensure the next time they run into an old friend they haven't seen in years, they will be amazed at how much they have grown and evolved.
Beautiful.
Candace is frozen on my end.
Uh-oh, she's frozen on my end. Well,
Okay.
while she's unfreezing, I love the part that she acknowledged that we are always going to be growing and evolving. Like there's never an end point. And so
That's right.
finding the gratitude in each layer of she popped off. Maybe she's going to pop back
Yeah,
on.
keep going. She'll come back.
So it's just a good reminder, because like we've talked about recently, like life is cyclical and there are ups, there are downs. There are times when we're feeling really in the flow and really wonderful. And then there are times when we're feeling, really low. And so I like that she talked about that, just the acknowledgement of that, like that is to be expected. And
Yeah.
the less that we resist that, the more that we just find gratitude in, each experience, that the better that we can feel.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So she was talking before we got on about gratitude in a Voxer that she left me. We were listening to it. And that she has this gratitude practice. So she's a teacher, right? And she is very much about implementing gratitude into every single element of her life. And so through her challenges, which we're going to get into soon when she pops back on, but she's had some incredibly challenges. What do we call that? Some
Challenging experiences,
obstacles.
challenging life
Yes.
experiences.
Yeah. And I think that it's really important to share our painful stories, and I know, Amber, you agree, it's really important to share our painful stories. Here
Mhm.
she is, in safe spaces so that we can all heal together.
Or at a pub where there's a lot of people that you don't know.
Right. Recently, Amber
Safe
gave,
spaces or not.
yeah. Oh my God. That is something we have to share about. Okay. So, Candace, can you
I
hear
am
us?
back.
She's
Yes. I
back.
don't know what happened there. All of a sudden the internet dropped, but now I'm like full bar. So yeah.
Okay. We're good.
All good.
So, bring us back to, well, first of all, I just want to say I met Candace at Kathy Heller's house at a retreat, and I forgot my bathing suit in the dryer from before I flew there, and I don't live in LA anymore. And she had a couple different bathing suits, and she let me borrow one of them, and I was so grateful. And it was just a very bonding experience, and it's a testament to the person that she is. Like that is, I think, quintessential Candace, is that she's willing to show up and share in big ways her whole heart and herself and however that she can. Like I feel like that's who you are.
Thank you.
And I remember, you're welcome. And I remember you sharing at the retreat so vulnerably and so openly and honestly and authentically, like voice shaking, the whole thing, about the painful experiences that you've been through as a mother, as a woman wanting to become a mother, and then, eventually having that happen. But I think it's really important because I know that there are a lot of women who don't feel comfortable or don't feel like they have the permission or they just don't have the capacity to share those stories of what you went through. And I think it's so important for us to share those stories when we can in safe spaces so that, um, you know, other people can heal with us.
Yeah. This story came out of me and I've said it, I think to Kathy and maybe in the room. I told this story like a million times. I told it over and over again. It went from like an open wound to a scar. But Kathy had asked a question when we were like all in her living room. And it was about, when did something come so easily to you? Like, when did you not bump up against so much resistance? And I mean, the end of the story is kind of that. But when I like went on this journey into motherhood, and I want to preface it, I have these beautiful stepsons for my husband's previous marriage who are 27 and 25. So I feel so blessed. And I thought, well, if I'm not meant to have my own, like I have these children, I have these boys. So I was sitting in our living room and I remember telling this story that I've told a million times. And it was like, I could not contain the emotion. It was just coming out, and my voice was quivering and I was crying. And I'm like, what is going on? I've told this before. And in the end of the story, so like Siri said, spoiler alert, my littlest son is 9. But I went on a journey. I had miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. I had 4. And so, like, a long story short, by the 4th miscarriage, I thought, okay, this is it. In between it all, my now husband, we were going to get married, but I got pregnant and then we canceled the wedding and then I had a miscarriage. So we did that twice, actually had dates and a location picked and booked. And so after the fourth miscarriage, this is where it's like when you just let go. I was like, fuck it. Like, that's it. Like, okay, all right. I'm just letting go and we're getting married. And so within 1 month of my 4th miscarriage, we had a destination booked. We had sent out the invites through email. We just had the formal invites were sitting on my dresser. It was a destination wedding. And I walked outside. I remember this moment like yesterday. And my husband is wrenching on dirt bikes because we dirt biked and raced dirt bikes and getting ready for this season. and he looked at me and he said, "You're pregnant." And I mean, we don't joke. Like, why would you ever joke about this? Like, I had 4 miscarriages. It was the first month, and these miscarriages went over 4 years. And I looked at him and I laughed and I'm like, yeah, haha, like so funny. I'm so not pregnant. I just had a miscarriage. I could have just gotten pregnant, but he's like, no, you're pregnant. So I had these stack of wedding invitations on my dresser and they just needed stamps. And I thought, I am not sending these off. Like I'm not sending these off to then have to call people and tell them it's canceled or pregnant, because who knows with the way things are happening. So I go get a pregnancy test just in case, right?
Yeah.
And so then I take a pregnancy test and then I was pregnant.
Wow.
And I'm like, no way. Like, what the hell is going on? I think like I'm so bad with like dates, but I think my wedding was booked for December 22nd, 2014. And the due date was December 30th. So it's not even like, I could, if the pregnancy lasted, I could go pregnant to a wedding. It's like a destination. I couldn't be flying the week if it worked out. So anyways, what I kind of realized, like in telling this story, is I 1,000% with every single cell in my body let go that 4th time. Like I thought previously throughout my whole experience that I thought, but there was something going on. I didn't let go 1,000%. After that 4th time, when I said F it, I surrendered. I let go. There was nothing. Like I was holding on to nothing. Like that was it. And I completely let go. And then I got pregnant. And so my little guy, he was due December 30th. And he ended up being born January 2nd, 2015. That's a funny story too. But he arrived. I ended up canceling the wedding after the doctor, she told me like, you're having a normal pregnancy. And for me, I'm like, well, that was so hard to hear. Like, what is normal? I've had like this whole big experience, and now like settling into the normal, I was like, okay. So then I was a mess at Kathy's. And then, the following day, Amy Tangerine comes along.
Yes.
And we're sitting outside under this, is that called a veranda? I don't know, like 30 women. We're sitting outside. She's like this beautiful woman with the most vibrant energy. I felt so connected to her. I just love, her like magic. It's like this magic aura around her. And then she goes and she tells her story into motherhood.
Right.
And she talks about her multiple miscarriages. And she had 4. And our stories were so similar. And I was sitting at the table. And again, I'm like, what the heck is going on with me? I was like, almost like hysterically bawling, like trying to keep it in. I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Yeah. So then after she told her story, she came and hugged me, like not knowing what mine was. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like I told this story yesterday and you're here telling this story to me.
Right.
And I don't know why I'm so cracked open. I don't know why I'm so emotional about it all. And then, so I think it was the following day or over the next couple of days, I'm like, okay, pay attention, Candace. Like, obviously there's something in this. Why is this coming up? Like, why are you so emotional about all this, the story that you've told? And the message that I got was, Candace, why don't you take care of yourself? Because in a million ways, I take care of myself. Like I have a really, really amazing life in a million ways all the time. I take care of myself, but in a lot of little tiny ways, I don't, and I haven't. And it was related to the miscarriages. I teach. And so I would have a miscarriage on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Sunday. And then the following day, I would go back into my classroom with like all these little people and like, it's okay. And I'd be miscarrying at work.
Jesus.
And I would just be like, okay, like, you know, put on a happy face.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just was like, okay, like you need to start taking care of yourself in these little ways where you like don't speak up or a little bit quiet or just go with the flow, or you don't like feel the things, or like, why didn't I take off a day? Why didn't I take off a week? Why didn't I take, no, I didn't take care of myself. So
But you know
anyways,
what, Candace? I think that you felt better showing up to those kids on those days than
mm,
sitting at home and feeling it.
yes. And I've done a lot of healing, and here's another part we can get into, or we don't have to, but,
Sure.
um, and I'll talk about my healing. Oh my gosh, it's been a journey, but so my son was born on this, like, it's making me emotional. I talk about this freely, but I haven't like shared it really publicly. The day after my son was born, I found out he might need a craniotomy, which
Mm.
was where they'd have to cut from ear to ear and take out his skull because his skull might be fused.
Oh my God.
So after like these 4 years of like not being in control, right? We're in control of nothing, but sometimes we feel like we are.
Yeah.
But like really with all the miscarriages, like you have no control.
Yeah.
And then he arrived and I have this beautiful little boy. And then the day or the day after, I can't remember, he might need this surgery, which he did.
Oh,
So when he was
Wow.
5.5 months, I had to like take him in and hand him off to the nurse.
oh my God.
And he had this major surgery and everything is okay. But yeah, I had to do a lot of healing. And then this other out of control thing, I'm just going to throw it in because it's like, there were so many things. But so he was born December 30th.
Yeah.
The whole time I was pregnant, I was like, there's no way I can actually give birth to a child. Like, no, I can't do it. Slice and dice me, take them out. Like, no, can't do it. And then I finally was like, okay, no, you can do this. You can do this. And I got into this headspace where I'm like, no, I'm like birthing this child.
Yeah.
And then December 30th, the day he was due, the doctor was like, oh, he flipped. So we're going to schedule a C-section tomorrow.
Mm.
And I was like, what? Tomorrow? Like what? And I'm not ready for this. And I decided I was going to be okay birthing this child. And so the reason he's born January 2nd, which is kind of funny, is like, I don't really care, but my husband, because we race motocross and in sports and in school, he's like, oh man, like December 31st, the last day of the year, he's going to be the youngest in all the sports. He's going to be the very youngest in his class. Like he'll always be the very youngest. So he goes, maybe ask her if she can do it on the 1st. So I'm like, okay, can you please do it on the 1st? Like, can we just wait a day? I need to figure this out. Like, and she goes, well, no, they don't schedule anything on January 1st, but
Right.
come in on the 2nd.
Yeah.
So I went in on the 2nd, and it was just all of these things that were so out of control. And so, yeah, then I had to like start on this healing journey because it was so out of control, all of these things.
Yeah. So sorry, let me give a pause for everything you just said. Amber, go ahead. Because I want to give you a moment to just share anything you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think the thing that that comes to me the most is how many women don't give themselves the time and the space and the permission to really feel the depths of their emotions and their feelings. And yes, I'm sure that in the moment, being around the children was helpful. And also, you had this experience where these the depth of the trauma that you experienced came out at Kathy's retreat, and it surprised you because you were like, I thought I dealt with this, but really, like, to allow it to come to the surface. I mean, I've done that so many times in my life where it's like, okay, get in the car. Okay, we're good. We're good. Like, I don't have time for this right now. Like, like, I've done that when I went through my divorce almost 4 years ago, and I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old, and all I want to do is go crawl up in a fetal position and sob. But I've got my kids with me, and I'm like, okay, now, yes, I've given myself permission to have moments when they're not with me to completely feel the depths of all the, the sadness and the grief and all the stuff. But I think that's just really profound and important for our listeners to hear that at some point it's going to come up for review. It's an invitation to feel it all. And that's when the healing really happens, right? When we're really willing to sit with the discomfort, and nobody wants to, right? That's why we all stay so busy. That's why we all, numb with certain behaviors and activities and substances, because we're like, I don't want to feel that. No, it's over. It's done. Boom. Right. But yeah, just to acknowledge, like, how much trauma, I mean, what you had to go through, like, that's a lot. It's a lot. And we all have our stories, but yeah, like, to have compassion and grace for yourself, and to just give yourself permission, like, as though you were speaking to your little girl self, like, hey, Candace, like, guess what? I'm going to hold you right now, and you're going to get to cry about everything that you've ever felt sad about. And we're going to do this, and I got your back, right? Like, that's how a lot of my healing has happened. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important.
Thank you. That so resonated with me. And I think, yeah, the listeners, that's definitely one thing that I think we can allow ourselves to do, is sit with the discomfort, to feel the feels. And I did go on autopilot for those years to just make it through. And I thought I was okay. And like, I mean, there's like the short of it, and there's so much more obviously that goes into the story and the depth of things. But I thought I was okay. And part of it, it's funny because when I left Kathy's and I was at the airport, this is a crazy story. Okay. So the night before, like, I'm learning to be techie. And so the night before I was leaving, Marina schedules my Uber, that was meant to arrive the next morning. And then we're all getting ready. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's no Uber coming.
And
What's going on here?
Marina is the woman who, when we had Amy Tangerine on the podcast, that we were talking about, who Amy went and bought her dresses with her. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So we ended up room sharing down there, and it was amazing. And so my Uber was not coming, and we're sitting outside. I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to make it to the airport in time? Like, what's going on? And so we rescheduled one. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, girls, Shanice was there and Marina. I'm like, you are not going to believe this. I'm like, Jesus is coming to pick me up at 9/11. It was scheduled for 9/11. And then I was like, what? And then Shanice politely tells me, actually, it's pronounced Jesus. It's spelled Jesus, but I have no idea. I've never heard that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. But anyways, yeah, Jesus is coming to pick me up, and it's 9/11. And every time I think of 9/11, I like remember 9/11 and think about, I went to the memorial. So I always think of it every time I see 9/11, I think of it. So I'm like, what a kind of cool paradox. Like, Jesus is coming to get me. He's taking me to the airport. He's scheduled to get here at 9/11. So I get to the airport, and I ended up having like some time. So I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go peruse all these different shops. And so I got to one, and I got 3 stones. and one said hugs. It was for my husband so he could take them wherever he went because he works. One was for my son, and it was courage, just to have courage to be himself. And then the one that I bought for myself was feel.
Wow.
Because it's part of my personality and part of like, I think my response to just like making it is sometimes I don't give myself the time and space to feel the uncomfortable feelings. It's part of my personality type. I do see the world through rose-colored glasses, and I do practice gratitude every day for years and years and years. So I think that is a superpower, and I've like just kind of trained myself to see like the good and find the moments in the mucky times, and I always can find gratitude. But at the same time, I haven't allowed myself to feel the deep feelings, the hurt and the loss and the anger and all of it. I stuffed it all away in my body and I didn't allow myself. So now I'm really working on just allowing myself to feel all the feels and just like let it come, let it go, because I mean, I've stuffed it and I know where it is in my body for how many years, since my childhood, like way back then. We all do. So
yeah, we all do.
It's coming out, and my body is like less stiff in certain areas. I know there's like this one part of my back that I'm like, okay, this is working through the neck. I'm going to become more flexible because I'm starting to really, heal all of the stuff that's come from childhood and through my experience growing up. So, yeah.
So many people are experiencing what you experience. Most people don't feel their feelings. Most people, we don't have time because we have responsibilities. And that is why we do, Amber and I, what we do is because let's carve it out. Let's take the time. Let's prioritize your ability to drop in and fully alchemize all of it and use all of it, right? And so I think that's the shift that I know I'm interested in. I think you two are interested in creating in our world is we're going to prioritize this.
Yep.
It's vital. Because as we know, if we don't prioritize feeling the feelings, the little trauma and the big trauma, it's going to come out in other ways. And it's going to be discomfort in the body, disease in the body, alcoholism, drug addiction, sex, like all of these addictions and numbing, and like Amber was saying, and it's one of the hardest things for people, in my experience, to do is to actually stop their life, the busyness. And I understand we have to show up for our children. And also, like when we process and we heal, we're doing that for them, right? It's that quote of like, our healing is the best gift that we could give to future generations. So you went through all of that trauma, as you know, Candace, in order to share your stories with other women so that they could feel their feelings, so that they can process it. So you sharing that story, is there anything about those miscarriages? Because I know women that I'm close to that don't share about their miscarriages. There's shame. And I would like to take the shame away. So is there anything else that you want to share to help take that shame away?
When I think back, there are like a few things that really pop out, I guess, just in my experience, because I feel like each experience is so individual. But it wasn't that in the moment that I would have been not okay talking about things. I felt really alone and I didn't really have a community, and I just like kept it to myself. But this is what I didn't want. And this is why I didn't share. I did not want anybody feeling pity for me. I did not want to walk into any room and for any conversation to ever be modified or changed because I walked in, because there were women left, right, and center around me that were getting pregnant. And in my experience, I was so happy for them. I honestly, I didn't feel jealous or envious or any of that. I just knew I was having a different experience. And so never did I want to walk in the staff room and somebody be talking about or celebrating somebody having a baby or like exciting news, and then them to see me and be like, oh, we better not talk about it. So like that was, I just really didn't want anybody to feel that for me. And so it's a one time, I think it was my miscarriage, I had to tell my admin, and I was so mad about it because there was some kind of illness going around our school that if you were pregnant, it could deform your child in utero. I can't remember what it was, but like I said, there was people around me getting pregnant left, right, and center. So there's a few other women that had to take like a week or two off or something like that. And then I'm like, oh shit, like I have to actually tell them that like I've got to take time off. And so I went into my admin and I told her, and I don't know if we were crying together, but I remember saying like, I don't want anybody to feel pity for me. And she said she lost I think her father and her father-in-law within a very short period of time. And she goes, I get it, Candace. She goes, I was there too. And she goes, we just care about you. And I had to let people care about me. There's a difference between feeling pity and we just want to show you we love you and care about you. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that was really stuck out to me. I'm like, I can let people care without them feeling sorry for me.
Oh, that's so huge.
This is a very important topic, and something that I've been working through is this, many of us women are people pleasers and have been in codependent dynamics, and we feel responsible for how other people feel.
Yeah.
And it can work both ways. Like I've had experiences where I have been very happy and the other person around me or the people around me are not happy. And so I feel a conflict because I feel like I need to somehow diminish my happiness because they're not happy. So that's like not okay. And then vice versa with what you just said, where other people are happy and I'm not. And so I tend to go inward and disconnect because I don't want to burden them with my emotional lows because they're feeling happy. And what has been coming to me is this new way of, hey, they can simultaneously exist. And it's not my responsibility to manage anybody else's state. Like I'm responsible to be authentic. That's it. I'm responsible to be authentic. And I can be loving and compassionate and kind and honest and authentic. And if I'm feeling joy, I can feel joy. And that's okay. And if I'm not feeling joy, that's okay too. But just to like give ourselves permission to show up authentically, no matter what anyone else around us is experiencing, and not have to change that for them or not have to dance around. Like that's something that I'm really I'm noticing for myself. And it's it's a process.
And the freedom that experience gives both people in that situation is really magical. Because recently I had an experience with Amber where I was needing to grieve. I just needed to grieve and I needed to cry for some hours. And she needed to dance and she needed to be in joy and she needed to listen to Taylor Swift. And we coexisted in that space. And I was able to see her dancing and just keep crying and be so happy for her. And I was like, yeah, like I got to that place like, oh my gosh, please, like, do you? And she was like in full compassion for me, but she was jiving and being in her queen energy. And it was like, yeah, this is it. This is the unhooking from, this is the freedom. Like, yeah, we can coexist in this way. And I think that's the same thing of like within ourselves. It's like we can hold, like Amber was saying, like we can hold the little girl inside of us. It's like, I just went through this trauma again and again and again. Like you went through it 4 times and then the operation. Like, fuck. Whew.
The other
Yeah,
thing too
I
that
love that you
I want to speak to just quickly, and then I want you to share some more, Candace, but I think it's also this delicate dance of gratitude practice is so important. But if we're feeling like shit, and like I can write a gratitude list and be like, yay, I'm so grateful that I love my kids. But if I'm feeling really, really sad about this other thing, like sometimes I just got to put the gratitude list away and go, you know what? Fuck it. I am feeling upset about this shit right now. And I'm just going to give myself some time to feel this. Now, if I'm still in it, days later, I'm like, okay, I'm grateful for, until I can feel like genuine about it. Like, but it's like, yes, it's an important practice. And it's also really important to honor exactly where you're at and what you're feeling.
I think
Mhm.
that's the journey that you've been on, Candace, right? That's the journey.
Totally. Yeah. I think I love how you brought that up because as you were talking about Amber, about allowing people to have their experience, and Siri, you're talking about how you and Amber were in 2 different places. I think that just brings back to the control. Like, I guess, everybody gets to have their experience and have their feelings and be who they are, because I wouldn't want someone telling me how I should be responding when I get to choose. So I think, yeah, that is in some healing that I've been doing afterwards. And even now, like going back to these limiting beliefs and these things that I kind of, I don't know, this thing that I put on since I was little, trying to like take off layer by layer and uncrack the armor to come back to who I am. Because when you say that, yeah, there could have been everybody around me feeling pity for me. And I guess at the end of the day, even though I didn't want that, it's not my job or my responsibility. And like you say, it is the codependency of, it's like, no, I can just be me and they can be them. And that is that. And I don't have to worry about or try and control somebody else's experience. So yeah, I love how you brought that up.
It's so interesting because pity is not a nice thing. Like, I was in a wheelchair in London and there was a woman, she didn't know that like it was just like, yeah, I broke my toe, whatever. It's like she just looked at me and she made this face and she was like clearly pitying me. And it was just like, wow, I have so much more compassion because that's different, right? For people in wheelchairs, because if other people are giving them that experience, and that's permanent for them. Like imagine going around with that experience in your face. It's like, don't do that. Right? Yeah. I think there's a big difference between pity and compassion. But I think that's the thing is like there was a part of you that was assuming that they were going to pity you as opposed to what you were saying is they just have love for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
So being embodied is what we're talking about on this podcast. So Candace, for you, and it's different for everyone, as you know, what is it to you to be an embodied woman? What does that mean for you?
For me, it goes back to healing, like you said, healing myself and unveiling like the layers that are like just coming back to my soul and living as authentically as I can. For me, my experience growing up, I like so many of us, was the people pleaser. I was the one who would like make sure everybody in the room was feeling happy and okay. I would not share my opinions or thoughts because I didn't want to stir things up. I would just be quiet about things that I didn't really like, or if I had an opinion about something and I wanted everyone to like me. And even now I'm doing this like really deep healing work. And I told Siri about this healer that I work with, who is incredible. And she has these amazing boundaries. And it's like, she is delving into like past lives, and she's to my childhood and to all these experiences. And so I wanted to be included, and I didn't want to feel rejected. And so for me, I would forgo who I was in small ways so that I would be included or I wouldn't be rejected. And so now I'm at this place where I'm really working on like tuning in to my truth and to let things go and fall away, and to follow the path of like my body knowing yes. And yes, just speaking up for myself in small ways. And because I know that, like, even in your intro, when you said, like, I want to enlighten, ignite, and inspire, and through my podcast, sharing my story and the story of others, because stories are so powerful. I also, through this video series that I'm working on, The Mild Side of Wild, I have inspired. It was so funny the other day, my video editor, he's like, oh, episode 4 is coming on Wednesday. And it's actually Shanice's brother. And he goes, I've never skied in my life before, but after watching your skiing videos, it looks like so much fun. I'm going to go out skiing. And I've got feedback from someone else. I think she maybe listened to a podcast or something. And she goes, yeah, I'm getting outside with my kids today. So
Yes.
in what I do, I want to lead through living.
Yeah.
And living authentically and living my truth, because I know I felt ever since I was little, I stumbled upon this letter, the Christmas letter that your grandmother would send. My parents still send it every year to all your friends that are everywhere to fill them in about what's going on. And so my little paragraph, I must have just been able to read, because I remember it was in their one house when I was young, and I read it. And it was like, the part about me is Candace can heal the heart of any Scrooge. Like, she's just this like beautiful being that it doesn't matter her energy. Like, this is what I got. Whoever she's around, like, she could heal a Scrooge because that's just who she is. So it's like, I know this about myself, and I feel it about myself when I'm really tuned in and turned on and just being who I am. Like, I know I have this magnetic, like, I really want just this, I don't know, to radiate and to have people in my circle that just like radiate this vibration and just are living really magical, simple, beautiful lives. So being embodied to me is like having that aura around you, because you know when you are who you are meant to be in this world, that you just radiate out from your pores this like magical pixie dust that everybody that's around you. I mean, I have people in my life like this. You're like, oh, it just feels so good and so clean and not codependent and fun and light and just beautiful. So I feel like that's the journey that I'm on. I do a lot of things, so many great things that I love. And like I said, lead through living. And part of that is this constant evolution and growth. And I'm not in a rush. I just know that it's just going to continue to happen. So just really honoring the timing and knowing that things are happening in divine timing the way that they should. And when it isn't a yes or doesn't feel good, then turn the other way and follow that path, because that can be really, really hard.
And that was beautiful. Thank you. I needed to hear that. What came up for me in that moment was why do you think that when you finally got to a place where you completely surrendered and really did, like, really let go, that it happened? What is your view or your philosophy on, because that happens all the time to people, like when they finally are like, okay, I completely let go, then like, why do we have to get to that point? And what is that?
It's a good question.
I'm so happy you asked me that, because this is something that I love to talk about, but never thought to, because I currently do this in my life. So I have behind me a book, and I have 2 books of the things that I've manifested. And way back at the time, or even thinking about it, I never really thought about it in that way, but I have a vision board. And so now I post all of my things on the board, and I'm going to show you. Okay. Don't mind my pants. These are like my snowboarding.
It's okay. I have sweatpants on too.
I'm like, I'm totally not going to get up. I never get up. No, I want to show you this because it's so special. So this book is filled with all the different things. Come find your island. In part of my healing through my miscarriages, I held my breath. I wouldn't breathe. That was the one thing I could control. So when I got healing done, and I said to this woman, I can't breathe. And she's like, yeah, that's called anxiety. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I've never had this my whole life. It was 2 years later, and I was holding my breath because it was like, okay, I can actually breathe, like just through everything. And so I put this on my vision board, because paddleboarding for me, as soon as I got on my I found a paddleboarding, I'm not a water baby. I don't love going under the water, but I got on the water, and I had to be so present because I didn't want to fall off, that when I was standing on it, and I was so in the moment, I could breathe again. I got like 100% of my breath. Like it was like, I'd get 60%, such shallow breathing for years. I was like, am I ever going to feel normal again? Right. Anyways, I'm like, I've never had to actually think about breathing before. Now I have to think about breathing. Anyways, so I put this on my board. So because paddleboarding was so this like catalyst for me to breathe again and be in the moment. It was so great, but it actually ended up being Oahu, this island that I went to. So I have this book. It is full to the brim. It has COVID in here. It has Kathy in here. It's got it's full. And then since it was full, I have this other book just filled with all of the things. Oh, there's Siri, me and Siri. And the quilt, I put this on here because I wanted to use my hands, because my friend was making this chunky blanket. So I'm like, I want to do something with my hands. And it ended up being the quilt. Like, seriously, how does that even happen? And so I have had this vision board. It's down in my bathroom right now. And I have a whole process in making it. And I move it around once it starts to feel like wallpaper. And I'll look at it. And I'm totally detached from what it is that I'm wanting to call. And it's like the feelings that I get from the pictures or the words or the phrases when I put it all on the board is so exciting. But then it's like, oh, this doesn't have to come in this way, but I just like the feeling of this. So I have this vision board, and there's so many things that have come into my life, and so many of them way more incredible than I could have ever dreamed up. Yeah. So I feel now, looking back at it, when I finally really let go and surrendered, like really full body, 1,000%, kind of like what I do with my vision board. Like, here you go, put it out to the universe, and whatever comes in, come in, and maybe it's greater than I can think of. When I really let go, I think that's when the universe is like, okay, all right, here, you don't have any attachment. I had none. I was getting married. I was done. You have no attachment to this thing. Like, now we're actually going to gift you this beautiful boy.
Like, what I'm hearing you say and what I'm feeling is a surrender to the fact that the divine mind has even a better possibility for you. And so when you can really let go and say, okay, like, this is what I feel in my heart, this is what I desire in my heart, and I'm going to trust that there's potentially a way of it happening that I can't see in my limited human mind. And so I'm going to let go and trust and allow for that to come in. Does that feel accurate with what you just said? Okay.
Yes. And you saying that reminds me of this quote. I think it's by Kerry Washington, maybe. I'm not sure. It's like, God has 3 answers for you. One is yes, but not yet. One is no, this isn't something for you. And the next one is like, I have something better for you. So even looking back at it, I feel so much gratitude for everything that I went through, because when I had my son, because I went through all of that, when he was born, there has never been, and he's 9 now, there has never been not one time that I have ever wished time ahead. Oh, he's doing this, but I wish he could be doing this, and I'm excited. No. And there is never not one time that I have wished time backwards. I wish he was, doing this or this or this. He was this. Because I went through all of that, I was so present in the moment in him growing up. And it even gifted me as a mom, like those 4 years to experience more life, to then bring to my journey of motherhood.
Preparing
with him,
you. Yeah.
Preparing me. And now it's like the times that we have together, like when we are like present. I mean, I'm not always, present and in the moment and this and that. Like, I'm human. I interviewed this one woman recently, and she has on her IG, I'm an okay-ish mom. I'm like, oh, man, I think I should copy that. I'm an okay-ish mom, but there are some things from coming out of it that I feel like I see the world through his eyes. Like, I'm 40, be 41. I see the world through his eyes. It's like, that's such a gift to see that as an adult, get back into their eyes and be a kid again.
The wonder and the awe. Yes.
Yes. And since his brothers were 16 and 18 when he was born, he was kind of like an only childish. So I was the one I was just out jumping on the trampoline with him this morning. I was the one jumping on the trampoline. I was the one finger painting. I was the one playing soccer and basketball. So that's like who I am too. I love the outdoors. I love playing. I think you're only as old as you feel that you are. Like, I'm young at heart. Like, we should all tap into that childish part of us, not childish, childlike part of us.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, life is so beautiful through a child's eyes. And if we can actually let ourselves play and have fun and throw caution to the wind and jump in the puddles and be messy and not really care, or not have like the to-do list or the responsibilities, like, if we can just set that aside, like, me going through all of that really just brought me to this time with him in this space to be in his childhood like that.
Wow. That's a gift for you, for him, for your whole family, for everyone around you, the inspiration, the way that you lead by getting outside and being present in the moment. So I think you kind of answered our next question, which was like, how do you be this embodied woman? And it sounds like what you're saying is you get out in nature, you move your body, you play, you look at the world with childlike wonder, you use gratitude, and you document your experiences and you honor
Mm.
them. And then you also create new visions all the time, but you surrender how it has to happen.
That's a big thing, I
Yeah.
guess, in the moment now. If we all like in this series is so fun because I live for the outdoors. I love being outside.
I
And I'm
love watching your
outside.
videos of being outside, just like skiing. And yeah, it's very inspiring. And I want to be more like you, Candace.
I feel like the thing that I might explore, because I feel like it's something that just comes natural, is maybe leading or bringing people together outdoors. I did a
Yes.
retreat in Jasper
Yeah.
and a couple years ago where we woke up with the sun at like 5 a.m. and did a paddle. We meditated by the river. We did a hike. We went to the top of a mountain, brought the meditation, did that. We
Amazing.
did meditation by the river. It was like connect, let go, expand was the theme. But if we only allotted the time to get outside,
Yeah.
it is like free therapy. When you move your
Right.
body and you get out into nature,
Yes,
then it shifts everything. And it
it
can be
really
like a
does.
10-minute
Oh
walk.
my God.
It could be, I'm going today after this, I'm going to buy a scooter. My son has one. And on my pedal bike, I feel like the most amazing, alive, wind whipping through my hair. Like my bike, I'm like, oh my gosh, is amazing. I love skiing, snowboarding. We walk a lot. I call myself like the Forrest Gump of walking. My son has this scooter, and if I walk, I'm too slow. And if I bike, I'm too fast. So I'm like, I am buying a scooter. So my husband says, I'll buy you a scooter for your early birthday. But I'm going to go get a scooter. So I feel like nature has so much wisdom.
Yeah.
The seasons have so much lessons. All of it, if we just actually sat back and like watch the clouds float by, appreciated the sunsets, the
Yeah.
sunrise, the trees, the earth, like all of it is just simple to our roots, to the very beginning, that if we actually took the time to move our body and get outside, that's it. I don't know if this is my opinion, like that's all we really
Need.
You don't
Yeah,
really need
like
anything
what?
else.
Like keep it simple. Like water, sunshine, get outside, move your body. Like if
It's
we were
what
all, yeah.
it's what remember we interviewed Sarah Kranz and she was like, that's real life. Like
Yes.
nature, that's real. That's the real life. Yeah,
Totally.
that's what I'm hearing you say. Also, can we just have a moment for how intuitive your husband is for like knowing that you were pregnant? Like
Oh my God.
he is tapped into his intuition. That's amazing.
Yes, I never really thought about that, but like as you're saying that, absolutely. Who would ever, like, no one would ever. He would never, even if he thought it and didn't know it, he would
Right.
not say that. So yeah. Wow, he should tap into that more often. Or maybe he is tapping into it and I'm just not noticing it.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so Candace, we love you. To know you is to love you. Thank you for being the inspiration that you are. Is there anything that you, like last little nugget of wisdom you want our audience to know about everything we've talked about? And then where do you want people to find you?
Okay, I guess I'll just leave it at this. I wrote Ellen DeGeneres a letter with my story into motherhood, I guess. And it's an unanswered letter. And thinking about it, I always felt like I had this Oprah story because I could never tell the story in a 30-second or 2-minute segment. Then Ellen came along and she talked to the everyday Jane and Joe. So I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Ellen. But she doesn't have the time to actually dive into the story. So it is through my unanswered letter, just going back to like giving it all up and not needing it to be how I wanted it to be, her calling me up and telling the story. I just sent Kathy a message about this podcasting summit saying, I'm so grateful that Ellen never messaged me back, because it is through that one story that I wanted to share, to give hope to other people, to thank these Joanne and Krista who were there, like the doctor and her secretary, and to just bring awareness, because at that time there wasn't a whole lot, or I was, I guess, out of it and felt really alone through it all. That was what guided me into creating a podcast, because I'm the everyday Jane. There's everyday Jane and Joe, and there's people who are super successful and in the limelight. And so because things didn't happen on my time, how I wanted them to be, that it just unfolded.
Claudia's here because we have a meeting with her. So we're just wrapping up a podcast interview.
Hello.
So let Candace finish her thought, and then we'll come back. Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, as I was saying, I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful the letter was unanswered, because it guided me down this different path to then share my other million stories that I have to enlighten, ignite, and inspire, and to have the everyday Jane and Joe give them a platform to share theirs, as well as people who are super successful. I want a mix of both, because way back then I didn't have that platform. So yeah, just kind of tying it all up together. Just let things unfold as they should, and stop trying to control things moving forward, because it's just an illusion and we don't have control. So let things be as they are, with the intentions out, I guess, putting out what you want, but then detaching.
Yeah. I posted this thing that was like, you can't beat, it was from the Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, like, you can't beat the river into submission. You have to surrender. And that's where the power is. Candace, we love you so much. And I think it's so beautiful that Claudia popped on at the end, because I know you guys are like besties.
I miss her. I haven't talked to you for like a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've been like going, but it's so funny because I am like 1,000 per hour, and every time I talk to Candace, I'm like, because she is so calm that she really balanced me out. So I'm like, but I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, well, you have to think. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, I think that is her superpower as well, as the gratitude is like, just slow down. All right, so
Thank you, Candace. That was
thank
incredible. That really was. You do. You embody peace.
Yeah.
You embody peace. That's the thing about embodiment. Whatever, I think we all embody different things at different times. But you can feel it when you're in the presence of someone who is embodying whatever energy they're embodying in that moment. And I feel that from you, that the energy that you're embodying is peace. And so, yeah, you're right, Claudia. I'm so like, hey.
It always happens. I could be, even when I am having like 5 minutes and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and then I go, boom, there's Candace. And now we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay, I gotta take a pause.
Well, I love all of you beautiful ladies. I'm so happy to meet you, Amber. I've loved you from afar. Claudia, love you, love you, love you. I know you're like the spice of life. Siri, as I said before, you're like such a beautiful soul. And I'm so happy that we've connected. And I'm going to see the two of you. Claudia, are you coming to LA in May?
Let's talk about it later.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I'm gonna go. No, I'm not having any plans to go to LA. I'm gonna be in New York and I'm gonna be in different places, but no. You talking about the podcast thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
you doing it?
Ladies,
We're wrapping up.
Let's
We're
wrap up. So, love you so much, Candace. So appreciative of your time, so appreciative of your heart, so appreciative of your very vulnerable, deep lessons and all of the nuggets of wisdom and insight. Like, it truly is a masterclass in life talking to you. So thank you. You're such an incredible storyteller. It really is a gift that you have of like sharing through story. And I'm just really honored that we got to do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll let you go and we'll be in touch with you. And Amber and I are going to wrap up.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Bye,
And yeah,
Candace.
we'll see you again soon.
Mwah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. So, Claudia, can you pop off just for 5 minutes and then pop back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. You look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
Like really gorgeous.
Thank you.
Like- So, what are your takeaways from that conversation?
Well, of course, my biggest takeaway, because it's what is present in my life, is this concept of having heart's desires and having having a vision of, that was a quick 5 minutes.
No, you don't want me? You want me to go back again? I can leave.
We just need 5 minutes. Just 5
Oh.
minutes.
Be there in 5 minutes. Bye.
Okay.
bye.
She's so funny.
Yeah, like my biggest takeaway is what I was saying at the very end, was being able to detach and trust in the higher possibility that I can't see. And also, I've heard that saying before, but I really, it was really helpful for me to hear it again today. That, and she said it in a different way that I had not heard. The answer is yes, but not yet.
Mm-hmm.
No, because there's something better. And I don't remember what else she said, but
Well,
those two-
though you see, that's what I was doing in my brain too, is it's two things, but it's actually, she spread it out into three. So it was like, yes, but it's yes, or it's no, or it's something better. It was like
Right.
broken into three. So yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's my main takeaway, right? Is just trusting in the divine timing of things. And even when I can't make sense of why things are the way they are, right? That ultimately it is a part of my evolution and a part of what I'm going to be needing to take with me into the next chapter of my life. And the thing that I'm really, really, really wanting, please God, perhaps there's something better. That was my angel card this morning, actually, was the, it's likely to exceed your dreams. The outcome is likely to exceed your dreams. So then I just go, okay, I really want this, God, but okay, if there's something better, I'm going to let go.
Yeah, I mean, this is so Buddhist. It is the quote that's on my Buddhist altar, which is like, it is our job to dream bigger than the power of the Gohanzen. And because anything is possible, that's not the exact quote, but that's what it's saying, right? It's like you would say, like, God has a bigger vision, a better vision than we even can figure out. It's not figure outable with our brain, right?
Yes,
It's like
and-
you say, it is the soul's calling. It is so much
Yes.
bigger than the brain's strategies. Give
Yes.
over the strategizing. It's not going to come through the strategizing.
Which is exactly what I was just going to say. Our conversation on the quilt call yesterday with Tracy Litt, the
Yes.
strategizing is in the mind.
That's right.
And that's what she asked us
Yep.
to let go of, because
Yes.
what your mind is doing is it's trying to have a conversation about, how things are not going to work out and all the ways it's not going to work out. And this is why, and here's the evidence why. And so when you're stuck in that, it doesn't leave room for the other possibilities. So that's where my focus is right now. It's like, I feel like, I get the vision that I get is like, it's like a little kid who wants to like grab something and they're like, nope, not yet. Nope. Not yet. I feel like my mind is like, but what? And I'm like, nope, nope. But what about this? Nope, nope. What did you think? Nope. Get off me. Get off. I don't want to hear you. Shut up. I'm like in a battle right now with my mind. Like, are you sure you don't want to hear this? This is very important. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm doing this thing where you're not in part of it. That's what I'm trying to do. Yes.
So ego is
Ego started to show up today, and I was like, listen, pal.
Listen, ego.
I was fine without you yesterday and the day before. I don't want you here. Go away.
Gosh. Okay. There's so much I want to talk about, but I know we have to wrap up this moment because Claudia's going to pop back on.
She's going to come up and I have to pee.
Okay. So thank you to our listeners for staying with us through the journey. Thank you for being on the ride with us. Thank you, Amber, for the insights and always the incredible questions. I mean, like the way you perceive things is just so amazing. And then I can't wait to give you guys, our audience, more because we have so many incredible guests coming up. So please, if you're not already like following and liking and subscribing and all the things, please do because we want to bring this to more people. We want to bring the value. If you're receiving value, please share with one person, text them, Instagram it, do the things because
share with 10 people. Why not?
Well, because one person makes it more easy but share with as many people as you want, but at least share with 10. One person. Okay.
Yes.
We love you. We'll see you soon. See you next time.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.